Now, some news has broken about the Ultimate Fighter cast and potentially what the UFC is looking at, and from Nolan King on MMA Junkie, he has said, from what I'm hearing, it's men's lightweights and men's bantamweights, and they're also looking at fighters from years past, which means maybe Ultimate Fighter fighters from the previous seasons. That means maybe even former UFC fighters, maybe even former Dana White's Contender Series fighters. And this is my prediction of who's going to be the cast. It was made up somewhat quickly, but I am pretty proud of this list that I've come up with. And we're going to be starting with the bantamweights list. And it features quite a few fighters from the Ultimate Fighter Season 29. But there is one fighter from the Ultimate Fighter Season 18 on this list, which was in 2013. If you look at this one here, that is when the bantamweights last were, aside from the bantamweight season in 2021, which was the Ultimate Fighter Season 29. So I've got one. And I don't even know if he's still fighting, but he was the most, he looked the most active, he looked the youngest, he looked pretty good. And then there's even this one here, but I don't think there's anyone on that season. So Dustin Lampros, a shoo-in, if that's what we're going with. I believe he moved up to featherweight in his last fight. But I'm sure maybe he could come back to the Ultimate Fighter and maybe come back to 135 pounds with the good coaches and training that Chandler and McGregor are going to be able to offer. He hasn't really fought any incredible competition, but he was on TUF 29. He is 8-0. He is undefeated. He's still a pretty young guy, he's 28. The next one is Mitch Raposo, former Dana White's Contender Series and the Ultimate Fighter Season 29 fighter. 24 years old, seems to be a guy that the UFC is trying to push. They gave him a Dana White's Contender Series opportunity straight off the show when he did lose to Ledovic Shilinian. He's won twice since, one over a pretty good 7-4 opponent over at CES, which is a pretty legitimate promotion on the regional scene. I think he's another shoo-in, 24 years old. He is a flyweight, but I do believe he probably would be able to move up to bantamweight for the show. Maybe that's a bad pick actually in hindsight, but we move on. Josh Reddinghouse, 17-5. Not really the youngest guy. He is 32 years old, but he was on a pretty big win streak. He has a win over Sergey Morozov, who's in the UFC, and then he lost, but then he come on the Ultimate Fighter and lost to Brady Heistand, who ended up winning the whole thing, getting second place, and now he's in the UFC. He's bounced back over Chris Beal, fun fact, who fought on the Ultimate Fighter Season 18 all those years ago in 2013, but unfortunately Chris Beal was not on the list, but Josh Reddinghouse is. He's 32 years old, he's an older guy, but obviously I'm pretty sure he maybe could be getting the call back. And here's my Ultimate Fighter Season 18 fighter, Anthony Gutierrez. I don't even know if this guy is still fighting. What happened was he hasn't fought since 2019, and then he was going to fight at the end of 2020, and it got cancelled. He was on a pretty big win streak since then, and he has had falling out fights with Jimmy Flick, and even just a lot of falling out fights in general. Davey Grant, who is in the UFC right now, and I don't know what really happened to him, but he's still around, I guess. He hasn't fought in years and years and years. Maybe he comes back, I don't know, but I thought he could be there. He could be an addition if you're looking at years past. Are they looking 10 years past? I don't know, but hopefully they are. Anthony Gutierrez, maybe a big comeback for him. Junior Cortez is on the list, former Dana White's Contender Series fighter. He lost to Christian Rodriguez. He's a pretty marketable guy because he's quite good looking, and he does happen to be Tracy Cortez's brother, and Tracy Cortez is in the UFC. That probably helps him a pretty good amount, especially getting an opportunity like the Ultimate Fighter. The next one is Mando Gutierrez. Mando Gutierrez lost to Raul Rosas Jr. by decision on the Ultimate Fighter, and then he bounced back with a first round KO over a 7-4 opponent. I don't know how good his English is, but he probably would have to speak English to be on the Ultimate Fighter. I think he could make a pretty good addition. Next one is Luis Rodriguez, another Mexican fighter. Got to add a couple of Mexican fighters in there. The UFC does want to have Mexicans represented more in the UFC. They really wanted Brandon Moreno to be the champion. They've got Yair Rodriguez potentially becoming a champion. I can just tell that the UFC is trying to get into that sort of country, or the Mexican market, I guess you could say. Luis Rodriguez, 23 years old, former Dana White's Contender Series fighter himself in 2020. He did lose to Jerome Rivera, but he's on a win streak now. Maybe a good option if he speaks English as well. John Sweeney, 12-3. This guy has a personality. He's young, he's 27. This guy would be the perfect personality to be in the house. I feel like he would be a guy that would be very respectful, but also a bit of an instigator as well. Maybe a little bit of trash talk, but not too much, you know what I mean? I feel like that would be perfect, and I also feel like he's got the skills to do something in the UFC as well. He's on a good win streak right now. And I think he's got that personality, man. He's got that personality where he could become a star just being outside of in the Ultimate Fighter, really. The next one is Austin Bashi, 8-0 fighter, 21 years old, young guy. Wouldn't hurt to have him on TUF, because if he lost, it wouldn't affect his record. If he won, you just got a 21-year-old The Ultimate Fighter winner. No brainer, really. Calvin Loughran, here we go. So now I'm going into European fighters. I feel like they're going to have some European fighters for the Conor McGregor team. Maybe they do Team UK versus Team USA. I really don't think they will. But I think to maybe like up the Conor McGregor presence, they're going to have some Irish and UK fighters there. Calvin Loughran, he's got a personality. I think he'd make the show interesting. He's 7-0, undefeated. Cage Warriors. UFC's got a very good relationship with Cage Warriors. They could get him in there. He's also beaten some of the greatest fighters of all time, such as Reese Street. Reese Street, love Reese Street. Anyway, Calvin Loughran, good opportunity for him. Jack Cartwright, technically a returning fighter from the Ultimate Fighter, but since he lost, I wasn't really too sure if I should just put him at the start of the video or towards the end. He's towards the end. He's a great fighter. Maybe he could be on the Ultimate Fighter, I don't really know. Nathan Fletcher, up-and-coming young prospect from England. He is 7-1, 25 years old. Could be a good opportunity for him as well. Maybe get some more UK fighters on TUF. Luke Riley as well, 5-0 guy, relatively unproven, 23 years old. Hasn't fought anyone incredible yet, but maybe he could be on the Ultimate Fighter. Maybe he could make a name for himself on the show. Let me know what you think. Let's move on to the lightweights. And now that we've moved on to the lightweights, I have realised I'm going to need some help with this one with you guys in the comment section. So please do help me with who you think is going to be on the lightweight cast. But I do have a list. It's not that strong. It's not that good. I wouldn't be too surprised if a lot of these are wrong. But the first one that I think is an absolute shoo-in has got to be Joe Giannetti. He is from the Ultimate Fighter Season 27, the undefeated season way back when in 2018. He lost a couple of times, lost a split decision on the Ultimate Fighter finals to Mike Trezano, and they just kind of let him go. And then he won a couple of fights, had a cancelled fight against Paddy Pimblett, and now he's on a win streak after losing a couple. And I think he would be perfect for the show because he's actually got a very likable personality. He's kind of one of those guys that's come up from the bottom. I think he would be like a good guy for the show. Speaking of good guys for the show, is this a realistic one? Absolutely not. But would it be perfect? Yes. I mean, John Gunther, he's 37 years old now. He hasn't fought since 2018, which is literally 5 years ago. But I don't know, dude. John Gunther's one of those guys where if you put him on the show, he's going to be entertaining. It would be hilarious if he was on the show. Do I think he's probably still training anymore? Probably not. But he would be funny if he was on the show. He really would. The next one is a Dana White's Contender Series fighter, Colton England. He's 12-4. He lost on Dana White's Contender Series to Manuel Torres. He's bounced back since with 3 wins. Back to back to back to back. Literally fought 3 times in 3 months. Won them all. I think he'll be pretty good to have on the show. And next one is George Hardwick. Maybe this guy's too good to go on the show. He probably should just be signed to the UFC, to be honest. But maybe if you wanted to try and make him into a star from the show, you could put him on the show. He does have a fight coming up, though, which would have to be cancelled, which would really ruin Cage Warriors. So I think this is just a stretch and not going to happen. So what I think's going to happen is he's going to win this fight and UFC's just going to sign him. Worst case, Dana White's Contender Series, but I thought it was a cool idea to have. Johnny Hopper's on here too. He's 26 years old. He's got a personality. He's got a very good fighting style as well. Lots and lots of finishes. Seems like a good prospect out of USA. I think he would be a good addition to the show. The next one is Lee Hammond. He's from Ireland. He seems to be Ireland's best lightweight prospect. Let me know if there's someone better, but Lee Hammond does seem to be pretty good. He's 26 years old. 5 wins, a win over a 6-0 opponent as well. 15-4 amateur career. IMMAF world champion. It seems to be very good fighter. He lost a split decision to this guy who was 12-0 as an amateur. 23-4 as an amateur. This guy could be a real powerhouse in the future. But anyway, Lee Hammond is the pick. I think maybe he could be on there because he's Irish. Conor McGregor would like him. If he is on Conor McGregor's team, they'd have like some sort of team chemistry going on. You know what I mean? Adam Callan's the next one. He's from England. He's 6-0. All first round finishes. Seems to be pretty good. And then the last one, I'm not confident on this one. I did look through all the seasons and it almost seems like there's not really many lightweights that could come back that are obvious unless they're featherweights moving up or welterweights even moving down. But Connor Hughes is one of those guys that is 6-0, all finishes as well. Hasn't really fought the best guys, but he's from England, he's from UK. He'll be pretty good with Conor McGregor, I think. So let me know what you think of the list. I know the lightweight one is pretty rushed, but I do think that this would be quite good, and I think it would be a good show. I feel like if maybe my list was from the bantamweights, it would be a good show, but the lightweights would probably be lacking. I'm sure they'll find better lightweights that would be more suited to the show than me. I'm sure they'll find outgoing guys that maybe I don't know about the personalities of, you know what I mean, that would make the show interesting. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I would always appreciate if you subscribed and liked. Thank you so much for watching.